Spinaris is responding to these challenges, how we are helping to shape the image of the public transport. Okay, that works. So let me start very high level. The world population has reached 7.7 billion right now. We need to think that it took the humanity all the history up to the beginning of the 19th century to 2037, and it will be 10 billion in 2057. This is, of course, putting big challenges in the way we live, in the way we manage our population, in the way we interact with each other. But for us, what is relevant is that for the first time in history, we have more people living in cities than outside the cities. And this figure in 2050 will be close to 2/3 of the population will be living in cities. Just think that will be 2/3 of the population living in 5% of the surface of the world. This is something that never happened in history, and we are facing a big challenge. And we need to address this with the right solutions. So there are two main challenges that we would like to highlight today. There are many others, but today we would like to focus on two. One is what is the implication of these socio-demographic figures in emissions, and what is the implication in city mobility and in traffic jams, and in how much time the people spend in the traffic. Let me start with emissions. Of course, as they are concentrating more and more people, cities are becoming more and more responsible for the emissions. If you account to everything, cities are probably responsible to 70% of the emissions. So we have a big problem with climate change, we have a big problem with emissions, but the solution, yes, needs to be connected with what we do in the cities. In fact, transport is a significant part of the problem, because 25% of the emissions across Europe, they are related to transport. And if you think that there are three main sources of emissions, one being the energy generation, second one being the industry, and third one being the transport, probably transport is behind the other two in finding the right solutions and putting the right measures in place. And it's interesting because probably is the sector that has the technology and the facility really to attack the emissions faster than the other two. The technology is here, is very homogeneous, different from the industry, and it basically requires a push from the people in the cities and from the politicians and from the operators. So we have a lot of homework to do. No doubt that we need to progress on this dimension. The other one is congestion. The number of hours that our citizens in the cities spend on traffic jams only grows year by year. We have cities in the world where people spend more than 10 days a year in the traffic jams. You could imagine what this figure could do for the productivity, what this figure could do for the life of the citizens. So basically we're in a situation that is completely unsustainable. It cannot continue this way. There are many people putting solutions on the table. There are many scenario planning. But the way we see this is we don't see any scenario, we don't see any solution where two words are not part of the solution. One is higher collectivization of the transport. We need to put more people in the same vehicle. There's no other way. We cannot continue putting more vehicles because this will basically be completely against any potential solution. So higher collectivization. And the second one is electrification. There is no way in any scenario that we can address the emissions without going into fast electrification of the urban transport. So in our view, this is clear that public transport in general and buses in particular are going to be a critical part of the solution. I know that many people is pushing for different type of vehicles. I know that people is thinking that the public transport is more of the past than in the future. We think exactly the opposite. Public transport with different vehicles is clearly part of the solution. It's going to be part of the solution of the future, and without the right public transport at the right buses, there is no way that we can address the issue of emissions and the issue of congestion in the cities. So we strongly believe, that the sustainability in terms of emission and the improvement of traffic congestion is a lot of what this fair, all that is in this fair, are going to be solving for the rest of the humanity. So it's very big responsibility, but I think at the same time we see a great opportunity for the sector. I don't want to be pessimistic here. We have challenges, but I think we have many good news, many good news. First of all, the technology is ready. The technology is here. The industry has been working for years, many years, to bring the right technology. And the technology is ready today to start implementing solutions. So, of course, we will talk a lot in this fair and ourselves about electromobility. Electromobility is a reality. Many cities are going into the electromobility these days, and it's here. Many of the routes of the urban transportation can be solved with electric buses today. Depending on the estimations, between 50, two-thirds of the routes could be solved today, and the technology is evolving. But it's more, because for other routes as a complementary technology, we have hydrogen. It should appear here. Okay, I will continue. So hydrogen is also arriving. Hydrogen is developing the technology to be a complementary technology for the pure battery buses. Not only that, we have autonomous systems that are going to make the transport better, safer, and with new features that will be make that experience much better. Because I was saying before that public transport will be part of the solution, but the only way public transport to be part of the solution is if public transport transforms itself. Public transport needs to give a much better experience to the passengers, otherwise they will pick different solutions. And we have the technology. New mobility services will be the perfect combination, because not a single solution will be enough for everything. So we need to find what is the right combination of different solutions, different technologies. And for sure, new mobility services are going to be also part of the solution. Politicians are supporting this very clearly in Europe. Not only these ones, but even more positive news. We are seeing the cities in Europe moving. I think Europe was behind other geographies for a while, but clearly we are seeing the cities in Europe moving. We are starting to see many operators and many cities putting plans, buying new buses, making the transition towards electromobility, and putting the right resources. And I think we need to accelerate, but clearly the steps that we are doing are the right ones. And we believe that Solaris is the perfect partner to the cities. We have the product portfolio, we have the teams that are supporting the cities, and we are working with many cities across Europe really to help them in this transition. I will highlight two different situations, and of course there is a full range. You cannot be only one or the other, but we are helping small cities. The challenges for small cities are different. Why? Because they have less resources. The size of the fleet not always allows to have big teams with big technicians, support of external sources like universities, and they are struggling because, again, don't forget, this is the biggest transformation of urban mobility in the history. So this is not a small change. This is not about changing the fleet. This is about transforming the whole way we are moving in the cities. So small cities have a lot of different challenges because they need more support. The good thing is we are working with many of these cities. We are helping them to shape the way they are going to transition into the mobility. We are helping them to think what is the right pace, the right model, the right vehicles for that transition. But we are also, on the other side of the spectrum, we are also working with big cities. Big cities, they have a different challenge. The fleets are very, very large, and unless they go to big contracts, they will not reach the goals. They will not make the transition at the speed that they need. And let me tell you one thing. There are many operators, there are many manufacturers in Europe that can deliver a small batch of electric vehicles. But the number of manufacturers that can deliver a big contract is very limited. And I think this is going to make a difference. We are one of those. We are having big contracts, we are delivering big contracts, and I think it's the only way for the big cities to make transformation. You cannot have a city of a large fleet trying to transform the fleet in batches of 10 buses. It's not going to work. It's not going to be fast enough. We need to do at a different speed. We are working with these large cities, and we are making this transition together with them. We are shaping the image of public transport together with the operators. One final message from my side is this is paying off. We have been working a lot for a long period of time. Our teams, our technical teams, our commercial teams, our support teams are working very hard. We will continue doing so. This is not a moment of 1 year. This is going to be a continuous effort for many years. But I think we are being recognized by the markets. In 2019, Solaris is the manufacturer that has taken more orders for electric buses across Europe. And this is not by chance. This is because we have the right portfolio, because we are supporting, as I was saying before, small cities and large cities, because we understand what it takes to make this difficult transition, and we are perfect partners for these operators. So hopefully we have the opportunity to continue this conversation the next days, because this is critical. We cannot afford to miss this opportunity. We have a big responsibility with the cities, we have a big responsibility with the citizens, and we need to make this transition together. Thank you.
It seems that we have a full house. This is nice. So, as the slide show, we had right now at the markets we were operating, they are operating 2,200 electric buses. And why we're giving this message? Because just 5 years ago, it was only more or less 200 buses, 200 vehicles running on electromobility. This is as Javier said before, this is an extreme change which is happening in a very short time. So there is also a slide which shows that this is an 11-fold development. Yes, in 2009 we had only 23 vehicles with electric propulsion systems working in, actually this is in Europe, and today we are arriving to the 2,200 buses, and this is going to develop even more and more and more in the years to come. In Solaris we're very deep engineering company. We are starving to have information, details, data regarding the operation of our vehicles, and we're managing to do that by having operation of the buses from the Scandinavian countries, as we can see in this slide, up to the Baltic countries, then down to the south of Europe. So all this information that we are collecting are information which are helping us to develop each and every new bus we are taking out of the production to be better and better, aiming for error-free vehicles. Today we have 800 electric vehicles in our contracts, which has been ordered for 72 cities, from 72 cities. And combined they have made 20 million kilometers. So this is not only about the kilometers driven, but it's also in the areas these vehicles have been driven. And not only in the green fields that you can see here, we are running long-term tests in many other cities which are not presented in this slide. So the data are quite far. And this has been paying off because we're able to achieve high volumes in contracts, as Javier said before. We have been trusted with 90 vehicles from Berlin, capital of Germany, big city, big fleets, big delivery. Even bigger is for Milan, which is going to be the next slide. It will come. So up to 250 vehicles will be delivered in Milan. This customer, we are developing together the vehicles. It is not going to be the same technologies. We're going to start from the first vehicle up to the end vehicle. We are developing together new technologies in terms of batteries, traction systems. So it's a very challenging contract for us. And also in our capital city, which we are based in Poland, It's based in Poznań, but the capital city is Warsaw. 130 electric vehicles, 18 meters, also with the latest technology of batteries and traction systems. So, as you can see, we have three major contracts which are helping us say that we are now number one in electromobility. This figure is also represented in our production. A few years ago, I was checking, we had 80-85% of our production was pure diesel buses. Yes, today we have 47% of our production solely for alternative drives, meaning batteries, hybrids, trolley buses, and CNGs. By the way, this picture shows the infrastructure and the facilities we have here in Brussels. So we are already present in Brussels as well with electric vehicles. Also, I would like to present that Solaris is able to deliver in various lengths the vehicles. So we are starting from 8.9 meters up to the 24 meter, which I have here behind me. And all of these vehicles are here in Brussels during the exhibition. Here in the stand we have the 24 meter, 12 meter and 18 meter. And outside you can see it is running as a demo bus, the 8.9 meter, which is operating here in Brussels.